In this problem, we can use a three-set Venn diagram to help us answer the question that's given. So what I'll do is I'll start by drawing my Venn diagram with three overlapping sets. So three overlapping circles. And what you want to make sure you do is that you leave enough space for you to write numbers in these intersections. A lot of times, especially when people are first starting out with this, they will draw the circles like this with very little overlap, and then it's hard to fit a number in there. So just keep that in mind. You want to make more overlap than you think you should, and you'll see it comes out better that way. So that's just a tip. Okay. Oh, and I need to put my box around here for my universal set. Okay, so I like to put the letters on the edge of the circle rather than inside, because I don't want to indicate that this is the only area I'm talking about for whatever the letter is. So the letter applies to everything inside this circle. It just so happens that this area, for example, is inside this circle, but not this circle, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's see. We are supposed to determine if viewers would rather see a documentary, an interview show, or reruns of a game show. So I will just use whatever letters make sense for the problem. So documentary, interview, or game show. And then, of course, the whole thing is the universal set. All right. So we will start with what is in the overlap of all three, if that is given. So let's see. I haven't read this problem yet. Let's take a look. Okay, in this problem, it doesn't tell you how many people are in documentary, interview, and game show circles. So we can't start at the center, although that's usually the easiest strategy. So a lot of times the easiest thing to do is to start at the bottom of the list. They seem to always put that piece of information, whatever it is you want to start with, at the bottom of the list. So it says 40 were interested in none of the three. So that is just one particular area, which is outside of all three circles. So that's still part of the universal set. So it's part of the people who were polled. It just contains the people who didn't want to see a documentary, an interview show, or a game show, any of those three. Okay, well, let's see what else we have. 30 were interested in an interview show and reruns. So I went up to the next line here. So 30 were interested in an interview show and reruns. So that's interview show. Oh, reruns. Let me just change that G to an R. It's going to make more sense. All right. Okay, so interview show and reruns. So that's going to be everything inside this football. That's two sections. I don't know how to split up the 30, so I'm going to leave that piece of information alone for now. So I'll just put a dot there. Oh, that's not a very big dot. All right, put a dot there. I'm coming back to that. 50 were interested in a documentary and reruns. That's the same situation. That's two of them, two of the sets, so it's going to have two sections there. 120 were interested in an interview show, but not a documentary. Okay, so they want to see an interview show. They don't want to see a documentary, so we don't want these sections, but it could be either of these. So I know that this adds up to 120. Not super helpful at the moment, so I'll just put a dot on that. Okay, 70 were interested in reruns, but not an interview show. Same situation. It's telling me it's in one set, not in the other set. Still going to give me two sections. So this strategy of starting at the bottom and working my way up seems like a terrible strategy at the moment. You never know until you start the problem. All right, let's take a look. This looks like it might be helpful. 20 were interested in an interview show and reruns. Okay, so interview show and reruns. So we're talking about these two areas, but not a documentary. So that eliminates the center. And that means that we're talking about here. So that's 20 people. Put that 20 in there. Okay. And so I did that one. 150 were interested in an interview show and a documentary. So we've got two sections there, but not reruns. So again, not the center. So 150 going in here. Okay. All right, so we've gotten those pieces of information, and let's see. So I have some information about people who are interested in the interview shows. So I am going to go back and look for anything about an interview show. What do we know? We know that 120 were interested in an interview show, but not a documentary. So interview, but not documentary. Those were these two sections. And I already accounted for 20 of them. So since there's 120 in these two combined, and we already counted 20, that gives me 100 to go in this section. All right, so now I can check that one off. And let's see. What else do we know about interview show? 30 were interested in an interview show and reruns. Okay, so that's going to be interview show and reruns. That's here, and there's 30 of them. So that means that to get 30 total in that football shape, I have to have 10 and 20. So that makes a total of 30. All right, so we've got 5 of the 8 sections filled in, so this is going pretty well. Okay, so I've got that done. Let's see. And that done. So 2 more pieces of information to look at. So I have documentary and reruns, that's 50. And documentary and reruns, that's a football shape. And we already have 10, so that means another 40 going here. Okay. And so we've got that. And then 70 interested in reruns, but not an interview show. So reruns, but not an interview, and there were 70 of those. So reruns, but not interview, that's going to be this kind of moon shape here. And we had 70. We've already counted 40 of them. That makes 30 left. And now I'm out of pieces of information, or so it seems. However, this is the trick. This happens in a lot of these problems. There's one more piece of information right here. There are 500 responses. So what I'm going to have to do now is add up what are the numbers that I already know, and then whatever's left over, that's got to be documentary only. Okay, so I took all of the values, 150, 100, 40, 10, 20, 30, and 40. And notice that there are 7 sections that we're talking here, so 7 numbers. So make sure that you have 7 numbers listed that you're adding up. And that added up to 390. We knew that there were 500 respondents, so take away the 390 we've already counted, that leaves 110 that didn't fall into any other section. So I will put that in the documentary only circle, or portion of a circle. So Now to answer the question, finally, how many are interested in exactly one kind of show? All right, so here are the 110 people who want documentaries but nothing else. Then we have the 100 people who are interested in interviews but nothing else. And then we have the 30 people who want reruns of a game show but nothing else. So, again, off to the side, I will add those up. And that adds up to, what, 240? And so 240 is my answer. Oh, and I took this off of the program where I wrote the thing, so that's why the correct answer is checked in mine and not on your paper. So at any rate, we know that that's the right answer. So that is how you work that kind of a problem. This is a little more difficult than what you commonly see, because they usually do have you start in the center and work your way out. It's a little more interesting or challenging if they don't give you that piece of information, and then you kind of have to work just what it is that you know. So just keep in mind that you're looking for information that applies to just a single section, whatever section that is. It's just that very often it's this center piece, but it can be this outer area, or it could be, you know, just here. They might say, oh, there were only 30 people, or there were 30 people who were only interested in game show reruns. So they can tell you about anything, any one particular section, and then you kind of build off from there. So that's how you do those problems.